How did I manifest a publishing contract when I had no experience writing professionally, didn't know a soul in the publishing industry, and had never finished a book myself? I'm gonna tell you. Hi, my name is Jessica Lemmon. I am the best-selling author of 48 novels and counting. I have been published by powerhouses such as Harlequin, Hachette, Little Brown, Random House. I self-publish, so I'm what's known as a hybrid author. This has been my full-time career for about 13 years. I can't wait to share with you how it all began. My journey began in 2010. It actually started with a pandemic. Not the one you are thinking of. I go into detail about this in a blog, so I'll be sure to link it below. But what I want to focus on today is how did I manifest this publishing company when I had no idea how to do any of it. If we journey back to 2010, I was in sales. I was your candle lady. Actually, I sold candles for a living. I did it for about 6 years. I had a team of my own that I was able to work with and train, which was also really rewarding. But what was not rewarding was the sales part. I became very disenchanted with that job, which was probably job number 25. I've had a lot of jobs. You could see in my bio in the back of my books, I call myself a professional job hopper. What I realized was I wasn't getting to use my creativity the way I really, really wanted to. I have always loved to read and write books, and I have always loved to draw. I knew it was in there somewhere. What did I do to manifest? The very first thing I did was decided what the hell I wanted. I actually grabbed a notebook and just wrote really big in marker the things that I love. It said things like, I love coffee, I love my dogs, I love to read, I love to draw, I love to stay at home and wear my pajamas. It actually was leading me toward, what did I really want to do? I wanted to work from home and I wanted to use my creativity. When I landed on writing a book, I very quickly decreed that I was going to be published by a New York publisher. Now, this was in 2010, and self-publishing was just becoming this big splash that everybody was making. So a lot of people asked me, will you be self-publishing your book? And my answer to them was, no, I won't. I'm going to be published by a New York publisher. That was my goal. Nothing wrong with the other goal. It just wasn't mine. I pulled out a book that I started many years ago. It was called The Reunion. It was based on a 10-year high school reunion where the girl runs into the boy she's always had a crush on. And I had just gone to my own 10-year high school reunion, so that's where that little nugget came from. But I started it and petered out. I really didn't know how to finish it. I didn't even know how to get through the middle. So I was like, all I have to do is finish it. And now I'm going to tell you something really embarrassing. I finished it. It was under word count for the publisher that I sent it to. But I assured them in my letter that I could write it to the word count that they would like to have. I really didn't know what I was doing. They very kindly sent me a rejection letter, but it was a rejection letter known as a form letter, meaning it was just photocopied. I know, this is when we did like mail submissions. I didn't know what I didn't know. So I set out to do a little sleuthing before I sent this book into the publisher, was go to the romance section of my bookstore and look at the spines of every book and to see what the publisher's names were so that I could figure out who the heck was going to publish my book, right? Where would my book fit? So once I had determined that, the next step was, well, who can teach me what I don't know? At the time, it was Romance Writers of America. I had a local group that met, so I paid my fees, my dues online, and I drove about an hour away from my house to hear people speak, published authors. I heard Jules Bennett speak there once, having no idea we would be published together at Harlequin and then pen a series together where she wrote half the books and I wrote the other half. Love you, Jules. I met Dorinda Jones, who is an author of my very favorite book series, the Charlie Davidson series. And Dorinda, I love you because I came up to you, ran up to you after you spoke, and you said, "Oh, this is the first paperback I've ever signed." So I have the first signed Dorinda Jones, Charlie Davidson paperback. Anyway, sorry, I fangirled for a second. So I joined the RWA to learn what I didn't know. And in the meantime, what did I do? It was actually 2.5 years before I got a yes from my agent. What did I do in between? Well, I'm going to tell you. I did some manifesting things that I didn't actually know were manifesting things. The first thing I did, like I told you, was write everything down that I wanted. So we could call that goal setting. The next thing I did was I read books. Not only romance novels like I was going to write, I did plenty of that, but I read other books about business. I read a book called The Millionaire Course, which gave me the right mindset. I read a book called Cure for the Common Life by Max Lucado, which was about finding your purpose in this life. I also did some acting as if. So I really became this end result version of myself who was a published author. I went to the bookstore. I would walk in back to the romance section and I would go to the letter L because my last name is Lemmon, and I would look at Laura Lee's book and I would say, my book is going to be right next to hers. I pictured what my book would be like on that shelf, and when I got home, I would practice my autograph. If you don't have an autograph and you want to be an author, start practicing your autograph. Along with manifesting, you do have to do the work. I didn't just write this one book and stop. I wrote 5 books in those 2.5 years. One of them for NaNoWriMo that never got finished. I mostly edited it and then gave up on it, but it really taught me something. Every book I wrote taught me something. And by the way, 3 of those 5 books have already been published. So nothing was a waste of time. While you're manifesting, while you're visualizing, while you're goal setting, writing your dreams and doing research, make sure that you are also doing something towards your dream. But what do you do? There's so many moving parts to writing a book. I just told you in a few minutes here how I managed to go from not published to published with a 2-book deal and an agent. I had to plot the books. I had to write dialogue, realistic characters, figure out how to get myself out of a plot knot, right? So that is why I created this channel. That is the reason I have been blogging to writers, talking to you directly. And it's the reason that I began the Lemmon Society, which is my private membership. The Lemmon Society is for readers who love behind the scenes, love secrets, want to see how the sausage is made. That's not a very good analogy. It's also got a tier for writers, and writers, we do a live Zoom call once a month where you can ask questions. I give pep talks in there. We talk about books, of course, behind the scenes secrets. If that's something you're interested in, I would love to have you. You really don't have to do this alone. I'll leave the links for everything that I mentioned below, and I invite you to visit my website. The blog is free, the newsletters are free. Sign up, and if you've loved being here, please subscribe and hit that little bell icon. I will see you soon. XO, Jessica Lemmon.